Hello, everyone, and welcome to Scandal Sheet. My name is Thad Helsley, and today we are doing a special episode on the news that the New York Mets have signed the largest professional sports contract in history with 26-year-old outfielder Juan Soto.
Now, wait.
Whoa.
We got Juan Soto? Sorry.
It begins already. So we did a little teaser on Friday night for you guys because we wanted you to come back and hear the full thing with the whole Mets mob. And of course, I'm blowing my lead. And to lead us through this historic event, we are again joined by our longtime guests and favorite New Yorkers, the Mets mob. Gentlemen, please introduce yourself.
Rob from the Upper East Side of New York.
Awesome.
Leonardo from Manhattan, big fan of Richard Nera and Daniel McCartan of The Fan.
Side production, gotta love it.
I'm going to send it to them so they can listen to it.
There you go. Dave Grover, Upper East Side, New York City. Let's go Mets.
Okay, cool.
Injury attorney extraordinaire.
New York's
1-800
best lawyer, I might add.
If you're in a car accident, give me a call. I'll be happy to help you. Thad, be careful crossing the street, will you? It's dangerous out there.
No, I'm going to run in front of cars and then have you help me out of it. So maybe that'll be a new revenue stream for me.
Well, you may want to cut that part out, but okay.
Well, anyways, welcome back to the pod, everyone. And so for the very few baseball fans that have been in a coma for the past 4 years, I want to kick things off with asking all of you, who is Juan Soto and why is he worth so much money to the Mets? Usually you guys go David, Rob, Leonardo, but it's totally up to you. Whatever order you like.
That's fine. I'll take it, sure. Juan Soto is one of the best players in all of baseball.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason this contract is $765 million, which is an insane amount of money, it is. But the reason it's insane, and it's really not that insane, is he's the very rare superstar that became a free agent at the age of 26. Just turned 26 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, you sign a free agent, guy's around 30 years old, so you might get 4 or 5 years of his prime. Here, you're going to get double that. You're going to get 8 years of the guy's prime. So,
or none of his prime if you're Steven Strasburg. But go ahead.
Well, seriously, he's much older. But he's a hit. But this guy's a hitter. He's not a pitcher. And 26, that's the magic number. And that's why it's really not a crazy number when you consider how great he is, how great another part is, how great he's been in New York, how great he's been in the postseason. You add that to that age, you add to what his production has been, and the contract, in a weird way, kind of makes sense.
Sorry.
So to answer that, I'd like to do a tribute to my hero, Chris Mad Dog Russo. Hello, everybody, and it's a great contract for Juan Soto. What's on the Washington Nationals? He turned down $440 million, and now he's got $765, and the stipenders are probably drowning their sorrows in Casamiga tequila, drunken by those who make it or drink it, whatever they say. But we needed him. He's a great player. It's baseball's a team game. We know that, and he's got some limitations, but he is the best thing to happen to this team since Mike Piazza. I think. Would you agree with that, Rob?
I would. I absolutely would. And were you done, Leonardo? I didn't want to.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Didn't want to cut you off in the middle of whatever that was.
Thank you, Robin Quivers.
Being that we are all men of a certain age, we grew up in the 70s watching baseball, and being Mets fans, of the three of us, it was particularly challenging and frustrating to watch George Steinbrenner get all the big free agents. When there was somebody out there, you knew, whatever it was, he was going to go to the Yankees, and the Mets didn't have a shot at. So now, to not only get a superstar, but to get a superstar away from the Yankees, who, all cards on the table, I've been saying for weeks, there's no way the Yankees don't re-sign him. He's a superstar. The Yankees are Broadway. The Yankees are the top shelf. They don't allow themselves to lose a player of that caliber, and they certainly can't allow that to happen to the lowly crosstown rival New York Mets. So the fact.
Well, I was going to ask about that. Why the Yankees lost the contract later. Do you want to talk about it now? Because I kind of wanted to go in sort of a quasi-logical order of things.
I have some information on that. Boris had strict rules. I don't know if you read about this for people pitching him. The teams had to go to a hotel about a mile from Boris's office. It was the Blue Jays, the Red Sox, I think it was the Phillies,
Dodgers,
maybe somebody else. And maybe I don't know if the Dodgers. Maybe it was the Dodgers. And Steve Cohn.
Toronto? Did you say Toronto?
Toronto, yeah. Played by his own rules. Steve Cohn has a house in Beverly Hills. He can barely afford that house, as we know. But he said, hey, Scott, why don't you bring Juan over here to my house? And he met his family. And he said to Juan, this is my family. I want to introduce my family to your family. And the other teams that were courting him, he was going to be like the piece de resistance. And what Cohn said to him is, you're not the end. You are the beginning. Okay. You tell us, we're going to figure out what you need with your input, but we need more outfields, or we need more pitching. We need whatever it is, you tell us, and we're going to get it. And also, I don't know if you heard, the Yankees didn't want to include a luxury suite. And the Mets said, hey, you got a luxury suite. And there was a security guard of the Yankees. Now, it probably wasn't his fault. He may not have known, but he didn't let Juan Soto's mother into an area of the stadium because I don't know if he didn't know he was Juan Soto's mother or whatever. So I think that played on him, and the fact that he felt like he was more part of a family and getting more money.
You left out the part about in California. Steve Cohen flew in his 93-year-old father-in-law to California to sit down with Juan Soto to help recruit him to come to the Mets.
They should write some negotiation books
guys,
about that.
Everything that
that's like Godfather 2 when the guy flies in the guy from Sicily.
Something like that.
Yeah.
but also let's be very clear about who Juan Soto is. After losing to the Dodgers in the World Series, 10 minutes or so after that, Juan Soto is very clear, I'll sign with anybody in 2025. I don't particularly care. So, flying in, the family is nice and the suite and all that. Mucho dineros at the end of the day.
No, but
they didn't miss it by that much. $30 million.
No. What is that? 1%? They lost $5. No, it was a $5 million. I know this. Maybe the Mets offer was a little.
You guys
more
are running around crazy. Can we back up a little bit and just for the benefit of the listeners who are not experts like you, what is this contract? And I thought since David was the lawyer, maybe he would want to go down the bullet list. What is this? What's in this contract? What is in this contract?
Basically, 15 years.
Okay.
$765 million.
Okay.
No deferrals. However,
no deferrals. That's a big deal, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's another big deal too.
Okay.
There was a $75 million signing bonus that he gets up front. So he got $75 million today. It was also structured in such a way that tax implications on that signing bonus were going to save him $8 million in taxes, the way it was structured.
Oh, okay.
So we got that $75 million, right? He gets an opt-out after 5 years.
Right.
All right, well, not a big deal. He'll be 31, right, for the Mets. However, he doesn't give back that signing bonus. So he actually gets, if he opts out, then it ends up being more money per year than it would have been.
Right. Don't they, if they exercise the pickup on the opt-out, they have to pay him another $5 million a year? Isn't that right?
Yeah. So
for the duration. So the actual contract is over $800 million.
If the Mets want to avoid the opt-out.
Okay.
Who knows? He'll be 31. We don't know what's going to be then. We don't know where salaries are going to be then.
Yeah.
But so they get that. He gets the suite, which, the Yankees were like, we don't do that, which I don't understand, but fine. He gets his suite. He gets
I apologize for interrupting, but the thought process, at least on their end, was Jeter got a suite. He had to pay for it. Aaron Judge got a suite. He had to pay for it. So based on those guys and their history of how they treat players who want suites. They said, no, we don't do that.
Well,
Is it when you guys say suites? Is this like an A-list actor, like
It's like a luxury.
Brad Pitt getting his own trailer on a movie
No,
set or
you
something?
know what a luxury suite is. That
No, I know, but I mean, you're saying that one player gets his very own. He doesn't have to go to the locker room. He gets his own place.
No,
to
not
go.
for him.
His family. His
For his
family.
family.
Oh, for his family. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I
His big
misunderstood.
big family comes here. They live here with him, and they'll come to every game and sit in this beautiful luxury suite with food and drinks and service. And it hasn't been done. Rob's correct. However, hey, Jeter and Judge also didn't get $765 million. So you're not going to limit your salary to what Jeter got, right, or what Judge got. This is part of the negotiation. Everything's negotiable.
The
Luxury
rules,
suites at Yankee Stadium are about $20,000 to $30,000 for a single game. So times that by 80.
A single game
Yeah.
times that by 85, right?
And
Or-
Steve
oh, yeah.
wrote-
Plus,
to your point, the rules are the rules until they're no longer the rules.
Yeah.
I got it.
Wow. Okay, so that's the contract. And then I was going to say, and you guys already kind of started down this road. How is it? I mean, if there's more to say, let me know, or we'll just move on. But how did the Mets get Soto when, Soto was with the Yankees this past year? They went to the World Series. They didn't win, but at least they got there. And how did they lose him? How did they, and the difference in the contract is what, $5 million?
Yeah.
How did they lose him?
Plus,
Is it really just the father-in-law or whatever, flying in from the Dominican Republic?
I think it was a combination. And I think maybe he didn't want to play second fiddle to Aaron Judge, maybe. That could be it. But I think it was really Cone. I mean, the guy is a smart businessman. Hal Steinbrenner, by no fault of his own, was born on third base and hit a home run. And Cone is he's from Queens, New York, and he's worth $14 billion. And he got that money, fair and square. He had a few penalties and fines to pay for some trading errors and things like that. But he knows how to make a deal.
He knows how to also befriend people. He knows how to treat them right. The players love him. He knows how to bring him in. And he made it very personal with Juan Soto. And that's, with the family and my family, your family, they spent a lot of private time together. And I think that Yankees are all very corporate. Steve Cohen's very personal. And also, I think I'm going to steal this from Boomer Esiason from FAN. He actually had a theory too. He figured that when the Mets got involved in this, they said to Scott Boras, listen, we are going to bid a ton of money. You have to promise us that if we're the highest bidder, Juan Soto is coming to the Mets. Do not use us to get everyone else to pay more. And I think Boomer's probably right. Because they lost out Yamamoto last year. They were the highest bidder. And I think they made Boras and Juan Soto promise them that's what happened. And the Mets were the highest bidder.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're also, if we're going to go way down the rabbit hole and look at any and all options, at the end of the day, Steve Cohen is basically like us. He's a huge Mets fan. Unfortunately, like us, or really from a selfish aspect, just me, and not a billionaire. But if we were billionaires and money wasn't an issue, it's kind of like playing the fantasy league. Ooh, Juan Soto, yeah, let's get him. Cohen can do that, and I think also when in that sales pitch of bringing people to the team, people, there's that enthusiasm, there's that vim, there's that vigor that comes with something that you truly believe in, a product that.
Rob, do you think? And I hate to interrupt. Do you think the coach, the managerial, and the proliferance of Latino ball players on the Mets, and I think also you could definitely say, I mean, we've both been to Yankee and Met games. And Queens, I would say there's at least double the amount of Latino and Hispanic fans at Citi Field than there are at Yankee Stadium. Do you think that had a little bit of a play?
Well, don't Latino players make up like 38, 39%?
But not so much on the
MLB?
Yankees, though, I don't think. And plus, our manager's Latino.
Got a few less.
Yeah. I mean, look at the Dodgers, though. I mean,
and Washington Nationals manager is Latino.
And the Dodgers, and look, the Latino players have proliferated, Major League Baseball to the point where all the teams have probably the overwhelming percentage of players are Latino. I know you're referring to the actual people in the stands.
Yeah.
I was referring to the players.
Yeah, the
MLB
players. I mean,
own numbers. Yeah.
I don't think-
39%. Right.
Yeah.
You know, part of it also is, the Mets did lose $150 million off their books this
Yep.
offseason. So
How's that?
$150 million came
Well,
off.
because who left? What?
A lot of people. Oh, they were playing Scherzer and Verlander.
Well, okay, but that was 2 years ago,
It was
right?
2 years ago.
No, this year came off the books.
Oh, they were. Okay.
This year. Who else? Harrison Bader, Severino. Well, actually, as of today, Pete Alonso.
Did he sign today? Did he sign him with
No.
Oh.
Don't get excited. As of today, he's off their books. So, point being is they lost $150 million. Add his 50+ million. They're still way below what they spent last year, and they're going to sign more players.
Yeah,
And they're still going to be below what they paid last year.
that'll be.
So,
And I did see on the real Juan Soto, I think it was either the Twitter or the MySpace page, that he is an avid listener of Scandal Sheet and our podcast. So Juan, what I would
I'm
like
sending
to,
him a T-shirt, man,
What
and
I would-
hopefully
we
he'll
really-
wear it at his
we
next
really
press
should.
conference.
Although make it an extra large now because he's put on a couple of
Yeah.
pretty sizes.
Wait, Leonardo,
Double X.
So Juan, number one, let me finish this. Juan,
Yeah.
number one, we love you. Number two, please tell management that you need Pete Alonso to bat in back of you and give him whatever he is reasonably fair, because he'll definitely give the Mets a hometown discount, and we need him on the team.
Leonardo, you were mentioning podcasts. I just wanted to ask, in addition to those fine shows, I think there's something called Arrive Alive.
If Juan Soto is able to buy a motorcycle,
Yep.
I would recommend that he listens to the Arrive Alive podcast. And we're dropping a new show this Tuesday with the bass guitar player from Twisted Sister, Mark the Animal Mendoza, who's
Whoa.
traveled the
Wait,
world.
Leonardo, you're the
Awesome.
host of Arrive Alive, aren't you?
Yes, and I'm the host.
I didn't even know that.
And, Rob is his agent, so that's awesome. So let me give you a contrarian opinion. I know
Okay.
everybody is very, very happy about this in New York, or at least they appear to be. And of course, Juan Soto started his professional career here in Washington, D.C. He had actually been, the Washington Nationals had this school for, promising prospective baseball players, like in their high school years, and they paid for everything and they gave their parents money and stuff like that. So when Juan came over, he came here, started in the minor leagues for a year, and then boom, he was here and he was playing for the team for 4 years. We went to the World Series. So, and then of course, everybody was so horribly, after COVID and everything else, horribly disappointed that the Lerner family, the owners of the Nationals, traded away everybody. Not just Juan, but Max Scherzer and Trey Turner and blah 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 blah. Anyways, so when this news broke, which was very, very interesting here because we track Juan Soto, most people did not have sour grapes. And they were like, well, we wish him well. We knew he was going to be like big. We knew he was going to be like the Babe Ruth of the 21st century, blah, blah, blah. But there were some guys who were saying, and I'm going to quote this, and you guys can disagree with saying, look, I don't care. This is a radio announcer at one of our top radio stations. I don't care who Cohen buys. He could clean out the Dodgers, bench and bring him here. The Mets are still going to lose. They're not going to the World Series because the Mets are still the Mets. I don't know.
Well,
That seems like sour grapes to me, but you guys tell me.
yeah,
Can I take that one real quick? Because looking at Bob Klappich of, I think, the New York Daily News or the New York Post wrote a book called The Worst Team Money Could Buy about the 1992 New York Mets, who had a payroll of $45 million in 1992. Can you imagine that? And
That's really small, isn't it?
that was,
Well,
that
it's
was the
relative.
biggest payroll.
By
back
today's standards, right? Okay,
then. It was the biggest payroll back then, and they won 70 games. And who was the manager of that team, Big Dave?
That was Art Howe, right?
Jeff Torborg.
No, Jeff Torborg.
Yeah, they went 70 and 90 with people like Eddie Murray, aging stars, right? Eddie Murray and a bunch of other folks that
Vince Coleman, Brent Saberhagen.
Yeah. Chico Walker, Tim
good
Burke,
idea.
Bill Percotta, Charlie O'Brien, Paul Gibson, people like that. So I think all the Mets management should have, and I want to give a shout out to Mr. Andy Markowitz, who I'm going to send this to. Andy is one of the VPs of marketing over at the Mets, and I'm going to hit him up for a free parking pass next year for my motorcycle. But I think every Mets executive has a copy of that book as what not to do with a team like this. And it's definitely, and the other thing is, let's remember, different ownership. Okay. Cohn's a winner in everything he freaking does. And but still, you just want to, learn from the past so you don't make those same mistakes.
David Stearns is a brilliant baseball guy, a brilliant general manager, president.
Yeah.
So you have Cohen, who's clearly brilliant, who always wins. You have Stearns, who's brilliant. You have a great manager too. So there's a nice hierarchy there of from ownership to GM to manager. So that's the difference between this and the worst team money could buy back in the 90s.
Yeah. And I think to add to that, the point, we've spoken about the World Series and the Yankees versus the Dodgers, the Yankees don't win. But as we are the Mets mob, let's also recognize for a moment the Mets came that close to making the World Series. So if Juan Soto, they came, the Dodgers were clearly the better team. I thought that and said that to my friends, you nice folks going into it. But they wildly exceeded expectations, came a couple of games away from making the World Series. So if Juan Soto is thinking, well, I'm leaving the almost world championship Yankees, it's not like he's going to a last place team. It's not like he's going to, at least based on last year, a bunch of losers. He's going into a team that
he's not going to the Washington Nationals. You're saying
you can make a case. I
want to say that,
Rob. Let's say by some stroke of whatever that the Yankees went to the World Series instead of let's say the Mets beat the Dodgers and went to the World Series. Do you think the Mets would have beat the Yankees?
Right? Just checking. Go ahead.
Or do you think the Mets would have beat the Yankees in the World Series?
That's a great question.
I think they were a better team at that time. Whether they would have beat them, I'm not sure.
It's a great question because I think the Dodgers were a better team than the Yankees also. I think they were evenly matched, and it could have been anybody's game. I could see it going either way.
I think the Mets were better. I think
by
a little. If they would have pitched around, Judge and Soto stuff to pitch around because he's got a great eye. Judge, we know that he can go fishing for the low ball and the high ball. But I think the Mets would have had a better than a puncher's chance to beat the Yankees.
I agree. Remember, 4 games in the regular season, the Mets swept them.
Yeah, that's true.
Swept them in the regular season.
And everybody was healthy. And my question is, and just to bring up AI for a second, and it's just in the beginning of AI, but I wish there was a way with using AI or with baseball reference. Everybody on the Mets team, like a majority of them had career years almost, like close to their career highs. And I'm gonna, let's hope that happens next year. But Nimmo had a good year.
Not really.
Lindor. Can Lindor?
Neil did.
And where do you bat Lindor next year, Dave?
You have
to bat him lead off again.
You have to.
I think you have to.
That transformed his career, his season. You got to put him back in lead off. He was amazing as a leader.
Lindor, Soto, Alonso, Viento, or Alonso.
Yes. That's the idea.
That is murderer's row. Oh, and then Nemo. Then you got to put. What do you put? Nemo 6 or something?
Nemo, he had. By the way, he had an off. You talk about guys having career years. Nemo had an off year. Pete had an off year. Senga didn't pitch for them. So it's But even with that, I think they beat the Yankees because and by watching the Yankees in the World Series, the Mets not only were better, I think they had a better mojo. They had a better confidence about them. They were a winning group, and the Yankees had. There was something missing from their team this year. I thought. So
it's corporate.
You never know what happens.
Corporate, no mustaches, all that stuff. It's still very corporate there. Like you couldn't play for the Yankees with that soul patch.
We got to talk about Soto.
All right.
Well, let me go back. I think David touched on this a little bit. He said like some of the salary was freed up, but I just wanted to ask you guys in general. I mean, there's these escalating salaries, and I mean this is kind of a key question for you guys. I mean, from a financial standpoint, was this a smart move for the Mets? Because all baseball teams are reporting a drop in attendance, a drop in broadcast viewership on TV, radio, streaming, whatever. And then when you add that leap in the luxury tax that they're probably going to have to experience, I mean, can the Mets make a profit, or does it not even matter to Steve Cohen?
Doesn't matter.
I don't think he wants to lose money.
Right,
I mean,
but it doesn't matter.
But remember, he will be getting more fans in the seats. Rob, I know, was looking at StubHub today and some of the Met ticket prices.
Right.
Secondary market is up. I mentioned on the teaser, 2 days ago, my son already bought a Soto jersey.
No, you didn't say that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and not only, and I also mentioned to you as well that Steve Cohen has also bigger ambitions. He's building hotel. He wants to build hotels and casinos.
Okay.
Outside City Field, he has real estate dreams.
Right.
He
So
wants
this
to
is
do.
kind of like the Learners here in DC. They built a stadium and then they built all this stuff around it that just got the halo effect of having a stadium. Right.
And bringing a guy like Soto. And I
Yeah.
also mentioned this to you as well, which is I think Steve Cohen looked over at the team he wants to emulate, the Dodgers. They came in, they brought in Ohtani for $700 million. I know some of it's deferred, but most of it's deferred.
A lot of it's
$700
deferred.
million dollars, and they won a World Series. I think Steve Cohen said, "Hey, why not us?" And I think that was part of the calculation.
Okay. So, and I can't not. I mean, I hate to be a weight shaming kind of a guy, but at the press conference on Thursday, a couple days ago, 2-3 days ago, they took all these promotional photos of Soto in the stands with his new, Mets 22 jersey and stuff, and then thousands of New York fans, all over the place were pointing out, wow, Soto really hit the Ben and Jerry's big time, after the end of the season. And I know I recently passed the physical, but I mean, it does sort of kind of feel like Robert De Niro in the third act of Raging Bull, where he had to put on 50 pounds or whatever. I mean, does that concern you guys at all? I mean, he's young. I mean, obviously he can turn around and get that weight off.
I don't know.
At 26 years old.
Concerning on December, what the heck is today? 15th? No.
Yeah.
Going into
No, what?
training?
He can't.
No, it's not concerning that he's put on a couple of pounds. I mean,
Oh, yeah. Spring training is 2.5 months away.
I saw the press conference the other day, and I was like,
Yeah.
what the heck is that? And it's funny because you had sent out the
The
you had
photo.
sent out the little thing here, and if you notice, right, I come with props. If you notice right there, I mean that's a belly, kids. That right there.
Yeah, the people were estimating 35, 40 pounds.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know what?
Wow.
He's
Over the end of the World Series, which was what?
He's
October.
He's 26 years old. He's just made more money than anyone could possibly imagine. He's got
No, and you can't blame him for falling off the wagon, and
got
just hitting
personal
McDonald's or whatever.
trainers,
But
he's got chefs. He's got, believe me, when the bell rings, this guy will be there and he'll look lean,
Yeah.
mean, like
Okay.
Grove.
He'll
He's
get a
known to be a
personal
he's known to be
trainer
a-
like crazy. Yep.
Yeah. Think about it. He's known to be a hard worker, number one. So I don't expect him to get lazy. And the last month or two, during the season, I think he lives with his parents and his family, and they have home cooked meals. Now during the off season, he's flying off to Florida, flying off to California, having buffets and steak dinners with Boris and all the owners. So you would think that has something to do with it.
It's not working out.
Like
Yeah.
Rob said, no concern unless we see this in March.
right,
and
so he's going to be like John Candy in Stripes. I'm a lean, mean fighting machine.
Right. He looks like Bartolo Colon when he shows up at spring training. We got trouble.
Well,
And by the way, Ben,
Yeah,
at
but
this point, if you want to sub in a picture of Bartolo Colon on the Mets, that'll help sell the joke, fella.
Okay.
the home run. Use the home run.
You know what?
It's got to be the home run he hit.
Let me read you a comment on his Instagram. I tell you, from J Michael 78. You going to Juan Soto. You won't hit more than 27 home runs next year, maybe 95 ribbies, and you will strike out a lot more because the NL has more dominant pitching than the AL. The NL also has tougher teams in the last 3 to 4 years. You're still fourth, maybe third best team. LA is obviously the top team. Philly is better, and Atlanta is where it might even be even. Wow. You may get a
Is
wild
that
card.
true? Is that true?
Well, LA is better, obviously the top team. Is Philly better as a team? We'll see. I mean, I think they're
They're
more
pretty good.
We'll see. I don't know. Did they? I mean, they got a potential Cy Young. They got a great catcher. They got a good shortstop. It's don't count the Phillies out. They're gritty, and that town is gritty. let's not forget they threw batteries at Santa Claus.
And you know
Philly.
what? You never know.
Well, Atlanta is still really good, right? I
They
mean,
seem to be a little bit, maybe on the downside a little bit. Some of their plays haven't worked out. They just lost. The Yankees ran out the next day and signed Max Fried, one of their best.
right. People have been poaching them. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so I think they're a little bit on the way down. The only thing I would agree with that, to some extent, what Leonardo just said or what he just quoted, is the National League is more difficult than the American League. In other words, someone showed me there was some Vegas odds the other day where they had the Dodgers the best chance to win the World Series, the Yankees second, Mets third, right? And the reason I didn't think that was so silly, even though I think the Mets are better than the Yankees, is that the Yankees are going to have, in theory, a cakewalk to the World Series. The Mets would have to go through the Dodgers. So I think that's what makes it a little more complicated.
Yeah, but also you never know. I mean, I think if you go back and look at our predictions for the 2024 season, I think we were saying that the Mets will be lucky. Maybe they'll win the wild card, and then who knows from there.
Yeah.
But I don't. Think
I'm going to go back and check, Rob. Now that
do.
you brought it up,
Please do.
the MLB preview, that we did last February.
Yeah. And if I was right, please replay that.
But okay, let me ask you guys this. Okay, so we talked about all the overall stuff and the financial stuff and everything. Just at a gut level as fans, are you guys saying, because I remember when you guys signed Max Scherzer, I don't know how many years ago, 3 years ago, whenever, you were like, although he was kind of an older guy, like late 30s or whatever, but not a Juan Soto type person. And since then, Max Scherzer's just been bouncing around all over the place. But, I mean, just at a gut level, you guys really think this is a great deal? You really like this choice? You really think this is a winner? You're going to win a World Series. You're going to win a World Series.
It doesn't get you a World Series, but it gets you where you are expected to make the playoffs and go deep. Because once with the way that the playoff system works now, it's kind of like a tournament almost.
Right. Like almost everybody's in it almost.
Right. So if you don't make at least a wild card, it's a failure. And without him, a wild card would have been seen as a success. And now it's like, not only do you have to get in, but you got to go a couple of rounds deep.
And also, I don't think there's any team in Major League Baseball that if you ask senior management and they're like, hey, look, if we could find a way to get Juan Soto, do you want him? I don't think anybody's saying no. He makes you.
It makes them a better team.
Right.
It puts the franchise on the map. They're now a place to go. They're now a premier franchise. So they will be a better team for it. And really, if you think about it, he might be the number one player in baseball right now because of his age. I'm not saying he's better than Judge or better than Ohtani, but because of his age, there might not be anybody else you would take over him at this point in their career in baseball right now, right? I can't think of anybody. I wouldn't want Judge at 31, or I'd rather have Soto at 26. I'd rather have Soto at 26 than Ohtani at 31 years old because these guys are going to start aging very shortly. So now it's hard not to love this move. Like every gigantic contract, there's a risk. There is. I mean, there's no way around that. But, you got to be in it to win.
Let's remember the David Wright contract, right? When, he only made it through 5 of 10 years and they had an insurance policy. And so, I don't know, he's not injury prone, but neither was David until he got injured. And David was playing third base, maybe a little bit more injury prone position, the way he played it.
Yeah.
The way he played it. And so I think we have to, kind of pray for his health and pray that he's getting on a low carb diet. And I think
what about the former best player in baseball out in Anaheim?
Mike Trout.
Yeah.
What a sad story. I mean, not a sad story, guys. He'll never have to work another day in his life, but one of the best players in the last 40 years. And did he make the playoffs even once, Dave?
I don't think he has.
Maybe once. And then also,
no, I don't think he has.
And the other thing is that as good as Judge is, I mean, I think us three could bat at least as good as he did in the playoffs. He was a strikeout. He was a strikeout machine. And I don't know. And and Soto did fabulously in the playoffs. So, and the other thing is that we don't have to worry about, because remember when Francisco Lindor came here from Cleveland and he batted about 220 and played mediocrely because he was just like, holy smokes, I'm the guy. I'm making all this money, $35 million, whatever it is. And it always takes like a team from an off market to a big market about a year to adjust. He's already had that year. He knows what it's like. So that is great too.
Yeah, to your point, how many players have come to New York and have failed?
Bobby Witt.
But there's a ton of them. And then they leave. And they're great somewhere
Billy
else.
Wagner.
And he was okay here, but there was
There was some other guy.
Bunch of other guys. The guy from the Sonny. There's a lot of players who have come here.
Kevin McReynolds.
He can't play here.
Philly's
He's got to be a
pitcher.
certain kind of guy to play here, and you don't know until you're here. And we know he could do it. He's done it in New York. It
Philly's
doesn't
number
faze
one
him.
pitcher. What's his name? Used to be a Met.
Zach Wheeler.
Yeah.
Zach Wheeler, great example. He was here, and when the guy opened his mail, he would sprain a wrist, and he'd be out for 3 months.
There's a ton of Yankees.
Yeah.
A ton of Mets. Never could make it here.
So, listeners know I come from the Midwest. My closest market to me that had baseball teams was Chicago. And there were the White Sox and the Cubs. And there were, regional like parts of town and stuff like that. But Cubs were clearly the favorite of most of the people, at least the cool, beautiful people in Chicago, the Michigan Avenue people were Cubs people. Now, in my lifetime, both the White Sox won a World Series in the 2000s, and then the Cubs won a World Series years later. And but it's still like the White Sox were always had like this kind of like, well, we're not as cool as the Cubs, and because the Cubs are owned by Wrigley, blah blah blah. And when I look at you guys and I look at the Yankees Mets, even though you guys had like the Yankees have this storied past that you can never get around the 100 years and Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig and all the murderers row. But I mean, you guys only started in the 60s after the fucking Dodgers, blew Brooklyn, right?
And Giants.
So, pardon me?
And Giants.
And and Giants too. Okay, yeah, right. So, but you did win 2 World Series in the 60s and the 80s, right? And but still, there's still kind of is there not kind of a thing that feels like we're not as cool as those asshole Yankees? And so my question is, now that you got this owner and he's like taking out his checkbook and he's doing stuff and you're winning, and is that going to change? Are we going to turn the tables? Is it going to be like all the sexy people, all the Wall Street people are going to be going to Mets games, and then the guys from Staten Island are going to Yankee games?
Well, remember, we own the city in the 80s.
Right.
The Yankees were bad.
Right.
Mets
I know, but that
sold
was 40 years ago.
Through them, the Yankees were terrible.
Yeah.
And maybe these guys, I'm curious if these guys agree with me, and they probably will. I think nationally, the Yankees have this thing about them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yep.
They're Yankee fans.
They're like the Dallas Cowboys. They're America's team.
they
Love
are.
them or hate them, right?
I think in New York, in the city, for New Yorkers, it's not really like that. Out of
Really?
all the people
Okay.
I know about half Met fans, half Yankee fans. You don't see that, like you mentioned, in Chicago. I don't think it's really true for actual New Yorkers. I think it's a lot closer to 50-50 if you're a native New Yorker.
Right.
Okay.
So it's easier to when someone comes to New York from out of town and they're not diehard fans and like, I want to go to a baseball game. You take them to the Yankees. The same thing with basketball. You take them to the Knicks over the Nets. The same thing. You take them with hockey. You take the Rangers over the Islanders. Even if one is considerably better than the Nets, could be playing much better than the Knicks. But the Knicks are, more of a high-end ticket, or at least, like D-Grove said, a more net.
Yeah, I mean, Jack Nicholson has front row seats, right?
A more
so
nationally
whatever.
aware brand.
Yeah.
What do you think, Leonardo? What's your impression?
I know. I mean, come on, Leonardo's got to blow us up.
What's the question again?
Yeah, see,
It's about the vibe, the city vibe between the Mets and the Yankees.
Well, Mike Francesa,
whether the Mets are on the rise.
Mike Francesa on the fan said, we'll be back after this. But, the Yankees and not the Yankees anymore. Yes, they have the history, but it's about now. And as of now, they are the second fiddle. Yes, they still might get the corporate guys that are, if they're 35 and over and they're still, they grew up during the Jeter generation. But if you are 16-35. The Mets are numero uno, and the Yankees are the backseat right now. And I don't think Hal cares about that. And maybe he shouldn't care about that because they're more about the bottom line. But the Mets are the hot ticket in town. And I called up Richard Neer 2 years ago when we got Yoenis Cespedes, and remember he played like Joe DiMaggio for 7 weeks, and he got us into the playoffs, single-handedly.
2 years,
and it's going to be a transition for people like us because we're so used to complaining. It's like when a fat kid loses weight and gains all this muscle. Now he's like, I'm not used to this. What do I do with this? I mean, we're gonna have nothing to complain. Although somebody on the fan today said, "Oh yeah, this is going to last just as long as till Soto goes 2 for 14 in a 3-game series against the Phillies, right?" And then the Mets will be, and that's not true. He's gonna, this kid makes contact. He doesn't strike out. He doesn't strike out like 80 times is a lot of strikeouts. Judge will strike out 80 times in a month. Seriously. He'll strike out 80 times.
Soto has
in
plate
6
discipline.
weeks.
He won't swing at shit.
He doesn't. He's got plate discipline, and he's got almost as much power as Judge. He's got more of a gap, hits more to the gaps. And he promised he's going to work on his defense, and he'll have some good people out there helping him. And I think we're just, things are coming up roses for the New York Mets. And there's no business like Mets.
Oh, business.
Why don't we sing the Mets song, right? Meet the METS Mets of New York. Champ.
There you go.
There you go.
I'll have to look it up and put it in here.
Can't hear yourself losing subscribers.
We'll see. We'll see what the see what the Norwegians think and the New Zealanders think on this. I think when we do this baseball stuff, I think a lot of our people are Mid-Atlantic people. I'm not sure how many people in Australia give a shit about our baseball, but whatever. But one more question, and then anything else you guys want to talk about it. But I just wanted to ask if what did I want to ask, Thad? So spring training starts in February. It's like 2 months away. Do you guys ears on the ground, any more surprises? Any other? I don't understand trade deadlines and stuff like that. Could they hire new guys if they wanted to? Are there anything in the pipeline you guys know of that guys down here do not know of?
Well, David Stearns, they asked him the other day, they said, "Do you have a budget?" He said, "No."
They're not
very clear. Yeah, right. No. He said, we're gonna do what we have to do."
Is he the president? Is Stearns the president? Okay.
Yeah, remember he came over from Milwaukee. They hired him from the Brewers.
Why don't we do this to make
beat Milwaukee?
Yeah. Let's each of us say what they'd like to see the next move be. Pick one thing. And
Alonso.
Sounds good with me.
Now you just
sign
my
Alonso.
one idea. All right, now I got to come up with something else. Mine was going to be Alonso. They need Alonso. They don't need Alonso. Alonso is a good fit for the team.
Yeah, it is. And just to be different,
is he a free agent now?
Yeah.
Can they get him?
Yeah.
They can
get him.
Okay.
Get him.
And he's a fan favorite. He's like one of the faces of the franchise. He's close to breaking the all-time Mets record for home runs. So if he leaves, it's going to be a very bad PR move for the Mets because the fans love him and he's Mr. Met. My concern, my fear, but I haven't read anything about it specifically, is the Yankees will go overboard to get him just to, help for their PR. Hey, they took Soto from us.
Compensate for, but is there not a I imagine these guys are really competitive and like the biggest dog in the, thing doesn't want another big dog, but they want to win, right? So if there's got to be a bunch of big dogs in the same room, which is like Washington Nationals in 2019, there's a lot of guys who thought they were the coolest dudes in the place. And they just kind of sucked it up because it's like, well, we need all these guys to win because we're not actually that good of a team. So, but is that the thing? It's like where they just realize, well, look, we just got to deal with it.
The old Yankees, I think if this was George Steinbrenner, and by the way, people say if George was here, he would have signed everybody.
He would have.
It's a different financial landscape than it is now. They don't have the money they had then. Other teams have more money. There's luxury taxes. remember something. The Steinbrenner family, I think, owns like 30-something% of the Yankees. They have to answer to people. They have investors. They can't lose money every year. So they have to, they are restricted. I think Hal wants to win. Hal will spend whatever he can, but he's somewhat limited.
But is Cohen like the outright owner of the entire
He's almost 100%.
He's like an absolute dictator who can do whatever he wants.
Yes.
No investors. Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of part of the difference too. And by the way, to your question, Alonso as a fan, I guess that would be number one, but Sean Manaea would probably be number two for me. They need that pitcher. They need another really good starting pitcher to come in there.
And D. Grove, as far as Alonso to the Yankees, I think if he were a lefty, the deal would already be done.
You're right.
I think if he were a better glove, not saying he's bad, but
he's good.
Better. No, he's good. He's a good first baseman. He's gotten better.
Yeah.
If he were even better, if he were one of the elite first basemen, I think the deal might already be done.
Oh, and if he was a lefty, you're right about that. If he was a lefty, it would be long gone.
Yep.
And he'd be getting a lot of money.
Yep.
So, but they're still talking to him.
Yep.
But he wants to come back, and the Mets fans want him back. Manaea wants to come back.
We want you back. I want you back.
I knew it. I was just going to say,
I want you back.
Song. I knew it.
When I went to a game, one of the games I went to toward the end of the year, you leave Citi Field, and there's they're rebuilding stuff. They're doing a lot of construction, but someone spray painted on the fence outside Citi Field, sign Alonso.
Yep.
And nobody caught Leonardo doing that. He was able to.
Oh, Robbie, you still owe me a lunch, Robbie. You know that.
We'll talk.
You still owe me a lunch.
We'll talk.
I have a hard stop at 8, just letting everybody know.
Okay, guys. Look, I really appreciate this. Thanks so much. Love your insights, and let's try to get this out.
Here's an interesting concept. I'll end on this.
Yeah.
We try. Obviously, Thad, it'd be wonderful if you were in the big city. Do we try to do a live podcast show at Shea Stadium?
No.
What
I think we try to do is after Juan Soto's first 50 or 75 games, we do another show. And we revisit what we said and see what came true.
Well, we historically, guys, since 2020, we've done an MLB preview, and I hope you guys are still going to do that in February with me.
Sure.
Okay. So, I don't know about, here, I would do the live show, because Soto's going to play here in this field where he started, where he became famous, right? That would be great, because a lot of my listeners, obviously, because they started here, are in Washington. So when you guys play here, and you guys are a historic enemy or adversary, that enemy is too strong a word, and it's going to be sold out. It's going to be a shit show. I don't know if I can get you guys to come down here, even if I give you an Amtrak ticket.
That maybe D. Grove and I,
because if I just go up there, the Washington people will not like it. But if we do it here, your guys will like it. My guys will like it. We can, if we're going to do a live thing, as you said, that would be cool. That would be cool.
He's played there before, right?
He must have. I can't. Yeah. He must have. I can't remember all the.
No, maybe not. I know he played for San Diego.
Well, everybody, we did a whole. Remember my daughter Cassie? We did a whole episode when Bryce Harper played the Nationals as a Philly for the first time.
That's right.
And that was an extremely popular episode, even though it was like the worst night in the world with like freezing rain, 30 degrees, but the place was packed. And everybody was just like throwing their beers into the field, and it was just absolute chaos. It was really cool. It was good. It was good podcasting. It was good radio.
Maybe D. Grove and I get on the back of Leonardo's bike, the three of us we're all holding on for dear life.
Oh, that would be, because look, Leonardo, we can make it an Arrive Alive.
Literally.
A duo episode. You guys come down, because you were talking about this a few months ago. You were saying, maybe I'll come down on my bike.
Yeah.
And it's like, why don't you come down your bike with these guys? Make it an Arrive Alive and a Scandal Sheet podcast.
It could be like the scene from Superman, where Superman is running as fast as the train alongside the train. These guys can take the train, and I'll be on my motorcycle. And we could do that.
Maybe we put it out to the Scandal Sheet listeners. Hey, all 8 of you, what do you think?
No, it's 12 now. Come on.
You want to see the Mets mob do a live broadcast in Washington? Let us.
You want me to do a poll?
Let
You
us
want me to
do
do
a
a poll?
do a poll.
The scandal sheet luxury box would be nice.
Yeah.
You know what? Well, I don't think our luxury boxes are 20,000, but
Right.
there may be around. I'll look into it. I mean, that would be fun.
That's
Let's
yeah,
do a
I
luxury
get it.
box.
All right, cool.
For
Glad
sure.
I thought of that.
And
You say
remember when you go to Google, search for Motorcycle Safety Podcast.
Right.
We're number 1. So just click on that first link right there.
Correct. And Thad,
You'll be right
where
there.
can people find the Scandal Sheet podcast?
Yes.
Well, okay, so I fill the podcast with all kinds of links and Patreon and everything else, so I don't have to say that here, and it's also in the text. But I will include every time I have Leonardo and David, I'll include their commercials, and their links and everything. So believe me, I'm tireless in self-promotion, so I don't have to do it here on mic because I already hit people over the head with an aluminum baseball bat. But
and Robin made a joke about having 8 listeners, but didn't you say there was several hundred already on the teaser?
Oh, the teaser. Well, now it's up to I don't know what. Yeah, the teaser got hundreds. Yeah. And remember, remember we recorded it. The whole thing fell apart around 5:30 or something like that. I didn't get that thing up, and it was only 10 minutes long until around 11 o'clock at night. And then boom, in 24 hours, we had like 400 people.
And then
so
in
Yeah, so
closing,
you're right to 12 thing, Rob.
in closing, Dad, if you do hit somebody over the head with an aluminum bat, you've got New York's best lawyer on the line here.
There you go.
I know, but he's probably going to take the other guy's side, wouldn't he?
Whoever pays
if I hit him over the head.
Leonardo, you gotta go.
Yeah, he's got to go.
All right.
Okay, guys, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the Mets Mob! Woo!